So I pursued that and studied in Europe and got out of college, actually went and interviewed at Indiana University, where it's one of the best conducting programs in the country. And I got in. But then I realized, and I don't know, there must have been a God thing, because I realized, wait a minute. There's only 2 American-born conductors of major symphonies in the entire world, and I'm probably not going to be number 3. And beside that, musicians as a group of people are pretty strange. And I wasn't sure I really wanted to spend my life around a bunch of strange people. So I said, well, I'll bag that. I just need to get a job. And I was in love and I wanted to get married, so I went and knocked on Mr. Haverty's door, who was the CEO of Haverty Furniture Company, but he was also the chairman of the board of Bank South. And of course, my intention was to go to work at the bank, because, well, it never occurred to me anything else. So I went and interviewed with him and asked him, if they had a management training program, I'd like to go to work at the bank. He said, well, why do you want to do that? So I need a job, I'm getting married. He said, well, what about the furniture business? I said, what about it? And he described it to me, and it was an amazing opportunity, because it was really an entrepreneurial setup where you had your own deal and you learned the business and it was yours and you got to run it. I thought, well, that's pretty cool. So I said, well, what would you do? He said, I sure wouldn't go to work at the bank. Okay. So I went down to Jacksonville and started in management training, and that was 40 years ago, and I'm still with it. And it's been a terrific ride. And along the way, I've learned a lot of skills and been exposed to every part of the business inside and out, and to every imaginable kind of person. All to arrive at a position that now is perfectly suited for me, and I get to do just what I'm made for. So the first question I would ask you, why are you here? And that's a lot bigger question than simply, what am I going to do with my life? Why are you here? We're all here for a purpose. God has a plan for your life. Ephesians 2:10 says, he says, for you're God's workmanship, created in Christ for good work, which he prepared beforehand that you should walk in. Well, that word workmanship, do you know what it really translates? Do you think God does anything halfway or kind of mediocre, average? Not so much. And neither are you. You're not average. You're a masterpiece. Every one of you is a masterpiece. And you're made for something specific. I don't want to share a concept with you, and you're going to say not so much, but it's true. And I want you to walk out of here thinking this. I didn't share it with the first class. If you run into me, tell them about it. I believe that every single person on the planet has within them the seed of genius. The problem is, most of us never find it. Is that tragic or what? It is tragic. Why don't we find it? Because we're not looking for it. Now, let's define genius. Most of you think of genius as a Mozart or an Einstein or somebody like that. So I'm going to give you a different definition of genius, and I'm going to try and frame it in a way that will make it perfect sense to you. Genius, think of it this way. Genius is performing the function perfectly for which it's created. Does that work? So I have a little story to tell. And this is nothing at all like the first class. I don't know. I never do the same thing twice. So here's the story. All right, I was at Joe Gibbs Racing not too long ago, and they took us on a tour of the plant. It's right up the street from where I live. It's really cool. And they told us a story about a race that they were in, and they were about next to the last lap, and their engine blew, and they lost the race. And when they tore that engine apart and they got down into the details, they discovered that one bolt that they had bought from an outside resource, outside vendor, was like 1/16 of a centimeter too long. And that was what caused the fatal failure of that engine and lost them the race. So you think of that bolt as an insignificant piece in an overall very complicated machine that drives the whole program. And yet that bolt, because it failed, cost them the race. All right. From that point on, they decided no more. We're not going to take a chance on buying anything from an outside vendor. So now they machine all their parts to the exact specifications that they need for every piece on that engine. Amazing. Here's the point. That bolt is critical to the operation of the entire machine. And when it's functioning perfectly, it's operating at a level of genius. So, how do we discover that? It's really not that complicated. Think in terms of who you are. I'm going to share a principle with you that you'll hear about as you go through life. It's a simple principle, and basically it's this, that 20% of your effort produces 80% of your results. It's the 80-20 principle, Pareto principle. It was developed back in the early 1900s, and basically the principle, the idea behind it is that 95% of the wealth is controlled by 5% of the people. I know y'all are in college, and that's an evil idea, and those people that have that 95% of the wealth must have stolen it to get there. Well, no. They used capital markets efficiently, and they created wealth, and they used their wealth to create more wealth. And guess what? If you took all the wealth in the world and you evenly distributed it across every person on the planet, you gave everybody the exact same amount, give it another 10 years, and it'd be right back where it was. Because that's the way things work. That is the way things work. All right, so in my life, I'm good at some things, I'm average at some things, I'm bad at some things, I'm great at some things. So basically what we're looking at is at this level of genius, I have the opportunity to produce at a very high level. Those things that I'm excellent at take up most of the rest of it. Those things that I'm average at don't give me much of a return. And those things that I'm bad at, I need to get rid of immediately. Now my wife didn't understand that concept because she felt because I was a man and because her father could fix anything and make anything from scratch if he needed to, then that must be just what men do, right? My dad taught me something entirely differently. Hire somebody to do it for you if you can afford it. Well, so we had a plumbing problem in one of our homes one time. I had little kids, and it was great for them, but not great for me. And my wife said, well, you can fix it. Well, okay. Rule number one on any plumbing problem, and if you don't take anything away from this class other than this one statement, here it is. Before you start any kind of plumbing issue, turn off the water. I didn't do that. Imagine. You get the picture. The point is, do what you're great at. Let somebody else do what they're great at. And that really is the way life works best. So, what do? Well, first of all, don't try to be good at everything. You're not good at everything. Be an expert at what you're good at. Just be great at what you're made for. And let the other people fill in the blanks. And this notion of being well-rounded, I know you made all A's in school up till now. That's great. But it's really not about being well-rounded. We don't need well-rounded people. We need people that are exceptional at what God made them for. Be great at what you're made for. And let somebody else do the rest of the stuff. Honestly. And so what you're going to be spending the next 10 years of your life doing as you start this process of life and trying to figure out who you are and how God made you is eliminate the stuff that you're not great at. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion. You peel back one layer at a time until you get down to the nugget of who you are. The essence of it. Genius. Discover your genius. Know that you have it. That's the first part of it. You can't look for something that you don't know you don't have. Know that you have it. You have it. God made you for something. I know the plans I have for you, for a future and a hope. Jeremiah 29:11. God has a plan. And that plan fits His purpose. John 17:4. Jesus said this. He said, I glorify the Father on earth by accomplishing the work He sent me to do. At the end of my life, that's what I want to be able to say. All I want to do is accomplish the work God made me for. That's it. If you can seek out that, then you will have had not only a successful life, but an incredibly fulfilling one. And that's what we're really trying to achieve. So, purpose. Why am I here? It's not to make a lot of money. There's nothing wrong with making money. The more money you make, the more money you have, the opportunity to affect positive change in the world and build God's kingdom. And that's what it's really about. We're here to build God's kingdom. So if God blesses you with resources, it wasn't so you could have the hugest house on the street and drive the fastest car. It was so that you could have the opportunity to impact the most people. Because at the end of the day, that's what life is all about. I had an opportunity to teach the master's program. The master's program is a 3-year program that helps, I teach men, leaders, discover their kingdom calling. Imagine spending your life working at a job to make money and being very successful and then getting to a place where you finally realize, well, that's not what it's really all about. You don't need to waste those years. I'm telling you, that's not what it's about. What it's about is really finding that thing, that unique thing, that genius thing that God made you to be, and pursuing it with all that you have. He's given you specific potential. He's made you with strengths. And I've got some of them written down, and I'll, if I have time, I'll go over a couple of them and show you how those strengths fit. Your strengths say a lot about your potential. And what you are best at is where you're going to best fit. So think about it. If you can find that role that perfectly suits your strengths and that you really enjoy and care about, and it's driven by passion, man, I love this. Then what we're looking for is that sweet spot right there in the middle. And in a kingdom realm, it's God's kingdom purposes. It's God's designed potential, and that's a God-honoring passion. And that's where we're going to really find our place of keenest fulfillment. All right. So, what about strengths? 2 things that I'd like for you to do. I'd like for you to really get to know your strengths inside and out. Go back to the book, read about it, really try to understand it, know what they do, how they fit. The second thing I want you to do is begin to work on a mission statement for yourself. And it'll change. It's not like it's going to be a lifelong mission statement. It doesn't have to be. It could be. But once you have a mission statement, then when somebody asks you to do something or you have an opportunity, if it doesn't fit your mission statement, then it's not the direction that you need to go. Because trust me, people will get you to try and raise your hand to sign up for things all the time. Nothing wrong with that. Participation is good. Volunteerism is wonderful. But spend time doing things you're great at, that you're passionate about. And how do you know what those things are? Read the paper. If you read the paper, if they even have papers anymore, forget that. Go on the line, forget the paper, but you get my point. Pay attention to the news. What are the things that just churn in your gut? What are the things that drive you? Write them down. These things matter to me. Okay, well then do something about it. God gets blamed for a lot of stuff. If God was good, then why are there so many starving kids in Africa? Why didn't he do something about it? To which God retorts, why don't you do something about it? It's a reasonable question. Is there something we can do about it? Of course there is. There always is. Okay, let's take a few examples of strengths and see what we might learn from them. I used this one earlier, and I think it's a good one. And it kind of illustrates some of the points I'm making. You need to also understand that on the flip side of strength is a weakness. For instance, my number one strength is a maximizer. As a maximizer, it just means I'm not satisfied with anything that's average. I always want to make something great, take something good from good to great. So as I go around to my stores, I'm traveling all the time. I've got 25 stores I live in. As I'm going around to my stores, I'm focusing on the things that we can do better, not so much on the things that we're doing well. We're doing most of the things great. And so what I discovered was it was a little discouraging to folks to only hear the things that needed working on. So I had to teach myself, remind myself, make sure you encourage people on the things they're doing well. Simple, but my maximizer strength doesn't operate that way. So I needed to be alert to the downside of that strength and compensate for it, because it's important. All right. Communication, woo, includer, positivity, individualism. Obviously, somebody came to mind when I was putting these strengths up on the board. Bill Clinton. Think about it. So, is Bill Clinton a great communicator? One of the best. Woo. Woo stands for when others are there. So Bill Clinton's the guy that walks into the room, instantly engages everybody, makes eye contact, shakes your hand and treats you like, you know, you're his long-lost friend. And he's an amazing ability to remember things about people. Includer. Nobody left behind. I mean, he's going to engage everybody. He's going to involve everybody. He's going to get consensus, positivity. We can do this. We can get this done. Indefatigable, always throwing out ideas and things that we can do. The flip side of this one is somebody who's positive doesn't take criticism very well. I think we can think of some examples of Bill not taking criticism well. Individualism is the ability to recognize the talent, the gift that each person brings. And so as an individualization includer, think of the consensus that this person could build, right? So this is a great makeup for a politician, but does it have to be a politician? Of course not. Strengths don't define roles, but they certainly can help you move in a direction toward what might work. So politician would be one thing. Another would be sales. This is a great sales profile. Why? Because they have the ability to engage, including the buyer in the process, positivity. This is perfect for you. We can get this done. We'll make it happen. Individualization is he's going to tailor the solution to the individual needs that he's described in communication clearly. Now, downsides. What I've seen happen a lot of times is in somebody in sales who's woo, it's all about winning the person over, but it's not necessarily about providing a solution. The communication talks too much. Sales is not about talking, it's more about listening. So if a person who has these skills recognizes those things and compensates for them, they're going to kill it. Does that make sense? All right, another one. Restorative. Relator. Empathy. Adaptable. Developer. And in case you wondered, do these strengths happen a lot in the same order, the same way? No. There's only one chance in 33 million that somebody else has the same strengths you have in the same order. And the order matters. And so when I take one of these and I look at the profile, and we use this with everybody in our company, everybody takes this. And so I've been doing this for 15 years, and I can look at it right now and tell somebody what their bents are and how they're going to operate. And as a manager, imagine how important it is, what that communicates to employees when they realize, wait a minute, you care enough to know how I operate so that you can help me do the best job I can do? Yes. Whose interest is that? Whose best interest is that? Well, it's certainly in the interest of the employee, but don't you think that's a great thing for the company too? If the employee is engaged and happy and likes what they do because they're being well served as well? Absolutely. All right, restorative. This is a person who just has the answer, the solution. They're going to fix your problem. They're just there. Make a great mom. My wife is restorative. And she's been fixing me for 40 years. A relator. Difference between a relator and woo. So woo, think of an inch deep and a mile wide. They're going to know everybody in town or everybody in the room. Relator, not so much. Think of 2 inches wide and a mile deep. They're going to single out a handful of people. You're going to have a few close, deep friends that you have a significant relationship with. We might not have any. Relator will have a few. Well, think about sales. Relators make good salespeople too, but the problem is that if the person gives them initial rejection, well, okay, that's fine, I don't need a new best friend. So they've got to overcome that initial objection and be willing to dig deeper and go on and because until you establish a relationship with somebody, you can't really solve the problem, can you? So relator can be sales as well, can be great at it. Empathy. Empathy is just a knack to be able to really connect with somebody where they are. I don't have that one. But bless those that do. Adaptable, kind of speaks for itself, adjust to the needs of the person at the moment. And then developer. So think of a role this might fit. And I'm thinking, what about a pastor? Wouldn't that be just a terrific set of strengths for a pastor? Related to people on a deep level, able to really speak into their lives, to feel what they feel, and adjust to the needs of the moment. Wow, that's pretty terrific. Doesn't mean they have to be a pastor, but if that was what God called them to, they sure would have a great skill set to fulfill it. What about a teacher? You think a teacher would be able to connect well with their students, and that would be impactful, or a youth leader or something like that? Or a counselor, psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever. Lots of opportunity there. Any questions about those? There's 34 strengths, and each one of them has these kinds of unique characteristics. Let's do one more. Includer, restorative, developer, positivity, achiever. Now I'm thinking, what a great team builder. As an includer, that's their number one strength. They're going to make sure everybody's on board and participating. Restorative, going to tell them where we're going, how we're going to fix this problem. Developer is going to be able to really train each person in their strength and how it's going to solve the problem. Positivity, we got this. Achiever, we're going to get it done. I mean, those are strengths that are going to drive a team and have a real team atmosphere and feel as they do it. Relator, futuristic, responsibility, consistency, competition. Okay, I wrote down 2 roles for that one. So I'm going to say them again. Relator, futuristic, responsibility, consistency, competition. As a relator, think of a CEO. That'd make a good CEO because he's going to really get to know his team, his key players. Futuristic, he's casting vision out and telling people what it's going to look like that day. Responsibility, we own this, we're going to do it. Consistency, there's a sense of fairness and everybody's on board because there aren't any favorites being played here. People will follow them in competition, we're going to win. We're going to win. Well, wouldn't you follow a leader like that? I would. It's very cool. So hiding underneath all of these strengths is a makeup and something that's unique to you that you can use to fulfill a role that was designed specifically for you to fulfill. And at the end of the day, you'll find a great sense of fulfillment. You'll enjoy what you do. You'll be great at it. You won't feel like you're working the day of your life. I don't work anymore. I get paid. Trust me. But I don't work. It's too much fun what I do. And they let me come down here and talk to you. Well, go figure. And I thoroughly enjoy it. Here's my mission statement. To inspire leaders to find and fulfill their mission and to pursue it with passion. That's my hope for you. That you find and fulfill your mission, your calling in life, that you'll pursue it with passion. You'll never work a day in your life, and you'll wonder why the whole world doesn't get this right. But guess what? Very few do. StrengthsFinders tells us that 80% of the people do not use their strengths at work. To me, that's a crime. But as a maximizer, it drives me crazy. So I'm always trying to get people in the right spot, doing the thing that they're made to do, that they can do with passion. And imagine a team like that. When you've got a team like that, do you think they need to be managed? No. They just need to be kind of like guided along the path to get better. It's awesome. You have a wonderful future in front of you. The possibilities are endless, but you can't do anything you want. That's it.
Thanks, John.